welcome to this Peer Perspective series. I have two HIE mothers here with me, Bridget and Anna, and they are going to talk about their world of NICU advocacy, basically through that HIE lens and how they got involved. It is NICU Awareness Month, so we thought it would be really great to bring their perspectives and how they're getting involved and giving back. So first off, thank you guys so much for joining me. I really do appreciate it. If we want to get started right away and maybe tell us a little bit about you and your kiddo.
Okay, I'll start. My name is Bridget. My son was born in November 2017. We were a full-term family. In fact, I was overdue. I was 41 weeks and I was induced. Induction was going very well until it went sideways very, very quickly. Thought my water had broken. It turned out it hadn't. And my room suddenly filled up very quickly with a lot of medical staff. And they very quietly told my husband that they had lost a heartbeat. So I went in for a crash emergency C-section. And he had the cord wrapped around his neck 3 times, had aspirated meconium. And we know for sure he was without oxygen and a heartbeat for the first 15 minutes. He was given 3 to 6 shots of epinephrine to restart his heart. And he was immediately transferred to our NICU into, at the time it was a level 3, now we're a level 4. And he was put in ECMO into a cooling suit. He was the giant moose of a baby in the NICU because we were full term. So he was 8 pounds, 5 ounces and 23 inches long. So we were not prepared nor expecting that we would be starting a NICU journey. Considering we were a textbook pregnancy, there should have been nothing wrong. And now he's about to be 8 and he's doing really, really well.
I love that. Thank you.
Hi, my name is Anna. My daughter Gianna, she was born July of 2021. I had a healthy pregnancy, no symptoms, no complications. I love being pregnant because I didn't feel anything, nothing bad. The last day I was 40 weeks, 3 days, and I felt something strange. She was not as active as usual. So we decided to go to the hospital. My contractions were very minimal, so they're like, you might be sent home. And I was like, okay, and then we got there like at 11 p.m. She was born at 2 a.m. in the morning. So it was fast, but not too fast. So what I know of after reading her medical records is that she was resuscitated for over 30 minutes. She also consumed meconium. She was transferred to a level 4 hospital, so she was away from me for 4 days. She was in ECMO room for the first week of life without, no one else besides the doctors and nurses with her. And yeah, like it was scary because, you always hear NICU babies being premature, or mothers having medical complications during pregnancy. But with us, it was like you said, Bridget, perfect pregnancy, perfect everything to the last moment. Mm-hmm. And yeah, like now she's in TK. Such an active little girl, so sweet, so smart. We're going through it right now.
Thank you for sharing. Would you guys mind telling us a little bit more about your NICU experience, your journey? What stands out to you most when you look back at that time in the NICU? You both mentioned being full-term babies, and how did that compare to what you were seeing, what was being offered, and how your experience went?
I know for us, it felt like we didn't belong. We weren't supposed to be there. The unit felt like they didn't have anything for a full-term baby. I remember that the volunteers would always knit these little beanie bonnets for the babies, and they couldn't find one big enough for his head because they were all for preemie babies. And when I talk to NICU parents in passing, they would always ask, oh, how many weeks? And I'd say 41. And they would look at us very strangely in this like you don't belong here. Like, you're not one of us. So we didn't really engage or connect with anybody in the NICU. We didn't participate in any of the programs that were offered at it. We were just trying to be very quiet and kind of fade into the background and just, get out as soon as we can, which is the goal of any family in the NICU. Is you don't want to be there. I always tease that it's the worst club to belong to because no one wants to be a part of it. So that was really difficult. And then I remember when we did get discharged, I went to a mother's group that was offered by our hospital afterwards. And one of my questions that I asked was, what do you do for a discharged NICU baby? Like, should I be doing anything differently? And they didn't have anything to offer for me because he was full term. They just hadn't know anything, even though he had a very serious condition. There was nothing. It was just kind of like, all right, figure it out. And that then led to pretty much a year of me struggling to figure it out and feeling very unsuccessful with it because I didn't get to hold, like Anna said. We had several days of just waiting and willing everything in the world to go right. And so I didn't feel a connection for a very long time. And then it found out a year later that I had post-traumatic stress, PTSD. I had PPD going on, and it just went untreated because I was a full-term mom. I shouldn't have been there. So I work really hard to try and work with our families that you do belong, no matter if you're there for a day, no matter if you're there for months, that, there are people there that will support you. So I don't know if Anna felt the same way. I hope not.
No, it is. It is during the NICU stay, like my daughter, she was born during the pandemic, so it was
Mhm.
isolating. It was
Yeah.
alone. Like all the events they had for NICU parents, they were not doing it because of the pandemic. So it
Mhm.
was like you would just walk in straight to your child and leave. Like no communication with other parents. And with us, yeah, like Jana was the biggest baby. She was 7 pounds 6 ounces. So, and then the baby next to her was a tiny preemie. So the nurses, we would, they would rotate nurses every so often, and one of them is like, "Why is she here? Like, she looks good." Like,
Mhm.
this was like weeks after, she looks good, and then she read her history. She's like, "Oh,
Yeah.
like, yeah, like I don't know what happened either. Like, she's here, but yeah. Oh, like, what can we do?" And like I said, during my time in the pandemic, it was awful. Um, we had to get tested every 72 hours. We had either that or get the shot. And I'm like, my mind, I'm like, I don't want to go see another doctor for me. Like, no one else. Like, um, I just want to be with her all the time. And because I didn't get my results on time, there was 2 occasions that I was not allowed in the hospital. So imagine, like, you're excited. You're like, okay, I'm going to spend the whole day with my child. And they're like, sorry, you can't.
Mhm.
And that was a heartache because I was pumping, I was dropping off the milk. I stayed outside. My husband went in. I'm like, just stay with her. I'll be in the car. He's like, don't go outside. Don't be in the car. Just wait with me. Be outside the hospital. And I'm just like staring at the plants, tears, tears, tears. And I'm like, oh. And because of, my focus was on my daughter the first year, I didn't focus on myself. Like,
Mhm.
they would ask me, "Are you okay?" I'm like, "Yeah, I'm okay. I'm okay."
Mhm.
And then close the door. I would cry because I'm like, "How do I talk about me when she's going through it? How
Mhm.
do I ask for help if I don't know what I have, or we're
Yeah.
in denial that there's nothing bad with you?" So
Yeah.
with her, it was more everything was on her, like trying to
Yeah.
get her home. Our lives change from one minute you're like excited, and next minute you don't know what's going on,
Yeah.
like what to expect. What do we need home? What does this mean? Like you get thrown words and you're like, what does this word mean? What is HIE? What is
Mhm.
hypoxic ischemic encephalopathy? I had to learn how to pronounce the word because I'm like, what is this?
Yeah.
um yeah, and it's a new world, and yeah, a club that you were never expected to join, but you are now happy that there's a community that you could lean on and ask for advice and support and
Mhm.
guidance.
Yeah. Very much so. The same. I remember that first year, we didn't really know what HIE was. Anytime we'd go to a doctor's appointment with him or a therapy appointment with him, I'd bring the full stack of medical records. I mean, it was pretty massive. And I'm trying to explain what this is to medical professionals because they hadn't seen it yet. So I had to get very quickly very versed in something that's very foreign. And I remember then I'd keep getting told over and over again, he's such a miracle, he's such a miracle. But I wanted them to treat the child in front of them. I was getting tired of being told he's a miracle. I was like, yeah, I know that, but I need you to treat the kid in front of you because I don't know what to do. I remember the first time I went to a therapist's office and I started the spiel, the like, okay, he has HIE and let's do it. And they were like, no, we know what it is. We've treated this. And I was just like you said, tears, just like it was like suddenly I could breathe because someone understood what it was. And the therapists were the first ones who were like, how are you doing? Not in just a like kind of, oh, are you okay? Kind of, but like in a, how are you handling this? How can we help you way? That was a huge breakthrough moment for me and kind of started me really wanting to get into advocacy for it because there was no one like us, like I said, in the NICU. Anytime we'd have a post-discharge like NICU event, our hospital used to do a big event every year pre-pandemic for NICU Awareness Month. And it was just all preemie families. We were the only full-term family there. And so I was like, there has to be more of me. I can't just be the only one. And that's when I really started to look. And I started Googling and actually found Hope for HIE via, I think, a hashtag on Instagram. So, little things like that are helpful. They actually like help families like us find you. And since then, it opened up a whole new world and of resources in a community, like you said, of, hey, it's not just us. There are others like us.
Yeah. Like even me walking towards the NICU, they have pictures of babies, and I'm like, oh, they're so cute, but they're premature babies, like all of small tiny babies,
Yeah.
and I'm like, yeah, I thought like, okay, we don't belong here because I'm like, there's no full term baby, like no one expects you there at all. People like I had friends, we were pregnant around the same time. My sister-in-law was pregnant at the same time, and then coming home by myself without my baby, I'm like, awful feeling. And then looking back, I did find HIE through my social worker. She did mention like there's a group, a website, and I looked at it, and then I joined the Facebook, and then with them I joined my NICU. It's CPQCC, which is California Perinatal Quality Care, through HIE for California. And I'm like, okay, so we do conferences every year, and I tell my story, and we are 13, 16 parents, and I'm the only full-term parent.
Yeah.
And every time they hear my story, they're, yeah, like what, like how? I'm like, it happens. I'm like, I took care of myself, supposedly. But the unexpected happens, and now I'm like sharing my story openly. The first year was hard for me to even talk about my daughter without just crying. And with me, my daughter's OT, the owner, she was seeing her, and she's like, Anna, like, I'm gonna give you this not evaluation, but it's like a mother's mental program. And I'm like, okay, like, why do I need it? She's like, oh, I'm just doing questionnaires. And I'm like, okay, I'll do it. And then a week later, she's like, you're depressed. I'm like, I don't feel depressed.
Yeah.
But she did help me a lot. So I always thank her. She opened the doors for me. Like, you need to take care of yourself. You need to advocate not only for your child, but for yourself. And through that, within the first year working with someone else that she recommended, I was able to look for, okay, how can I talk about my daughter to other parents who went through the same situation?
Yeah.
And that's
I
how
had a year after our NICU discharge, our hospital has a program where it's graduate parents. It's our NICU PAC, so it's Parent Advisory Council, and you're welcome to join. And they didn't have a full-term family, so they were very interested in having us in it. I joined, and that was when it kind of really started to change for me because it felt like I was taking a little bit of ownership of it because it was a very strange experience because you get our group is allowed to join the NICU's team for rounds with parents, and we're there as an emotional support person for the admitted families, and just someone that they can talk to that's been through it, and or if they want to talk about the NICU, or if they don't want to talk about the NICU. I have a lot of times where I've talked with moms where they just want to talk about going to Target and, you know, having a life outside of the NICU, because it seems like that's your entire world for the time that you're there. You never want to leave. You go home and you come back to the NICU. You don't do anything else, and that's never very good for anybody. And then through that, I was able to join our hospital patient advisory council, and then we had a corporate one as well. And having that ownership of being able to go back on the unit on like my own terms, like I chose to go back on there. And I remember the first time I was able to open a door to the NICU with my own badge was like a huge moment for me. It was like it clicked in my head, because before I had to ask permission from somebody to go into the NICU, to go see my son. I had to prevent identification. I had to go through a process. And now I just got to do it on my own. Like I had the freedom to do it whenever I wanted. And that was huge. And then they also have we have a foundation with our hospital, and they do tours, and they asked me to be a speaker for one of their stops on the tours is the NICU, and they wanted, again, unique stories, and we're pretty unique. So I've done several of those, and the more I remember the first few times I talked about it, it was a little hard and I was uncomfortable with it, but then as I was talking about it more and more, the more comfortable I got about it, and the more it just became not normal, but like a part, just a chapter in our lives. It was just a chapter of it, and we're several years beyond it at this point. And um, he's worked really hard, and we had amazing NICU nurses who kind of drilled into my head that like we had to watch him till he was 5, because they didn't know how it was going to go with him. So it was like 5, get every intervention you could before 5. So like I really like that became a mission for me of like, we have to get him into OT. We have to get him into PT. We have to get a speech evaluation. We have to make sure he's getting evaluated by his neurologist on the regular. Like I was like really had to throw myself into advocating for it, because no one else was going to do it. And they were right. It was like a make or break for us, for him. But like those years, it just became very much so a mission to do. And so it was kind of not a gentle like sliding into the pool for advocacy, but I have to jump into it because no one else is going to do it. It had to be me.
And I think that was kind of my main question. How did you decide to really get involved? You had mentioned like maybe your NICU experience was very different. You felt a little bit more isolated, not as included. What drew you in to be an advocate?
I know for me, I didn't want to have another mother like me. I didn't want someone to repeat the same mistakes that I did. I wanted, I was hopeful that maybe I'd reach out, that there'd be another full-term mom that would see me on the flyer or my family and be like, oh, okay, they're them. There's someone like me. Okay, maybe I could talk to her. Very rarely do I get ever paired up with a full-term mom. I usually speak to more of the preemie moms, but I always tell them, I said, I can't speak to your preemie experience, but I can speak to being a mom in the NICU, and I can speak to that that feeling of isolation, that you're not necessarily taking care of yourself, that guilt that you feel, that you always put yourself last because you want to be there for your baby. You don't want to miss a second of anything because there's not that picture perfect, they put the baby on your chest and everything's great and amazing and everyone's healthy moment. That's not the NICU story. So I got involved because I didn't want someone to be like me. So that was it for me.
Thank you.
I think with me, it was one of the moments that really pushed me was when Gianna had her first seizure at home after the NICU. And we were rushed to the ER, and there was a doctor. They looked at everyone from babies to adults, and I told her story. She had a brain injury at birth, and the way he was so condescending to me, like, oh, like, so she's always in a vegetable state. I'm like, no, she is as a 1-year-old running, like, jumping and all that. So I'm like, I like with me, I'm like, I can't believe he said that. Like, she's always like that, just laying in bed. And I'm like, I can't be quiet. I have to speak up. Like, no, she's a typical child, running, jumping, eating, all of that. Yeah, she has issues. She might be delayed in some areas, but doesn't mean that you see her less than other children just because you see her right now laying in bed. Like, she had come out of she was in a seizure for like over 20 minutes, and they were seeing her like that. And I'm like, she's not always with her. She had an awful seizure. Um, her face, yeah, it was awful. And I'm like, she's not always like that. And I think that pushed me, like, okay, like, how can we teach even those in the medical profession, like, that's not a way to speak to parents. And like, okay, like, yes, you just hear her medical history, but you don't know how she's daily. So that like did push me, like, okay, like, what can you do?
Yeah.
And that's when I started talking about her, what she had, online openly. Like, so I was like,
Yeah.
should I, like, I was like debating, should I not? And I did. And I'm like, you know what? Like, okay, it's helping other parents understand what HIE is. Even nowadays, they ask me, like, oh, what does it mean? Like, I never know what that was. Like, parents who have never been in the NICU, but they're like, okay, like, if anything were to happen, like, at least I know, like, how to help or how to tell people, like, things like this happen. Not every day. You don't see a situation or a family member like that, but things like this happen. So that was my push for me. Yeah, I'm always like joining conference meetings, training, because I'm like, okay, they're always talking premature, and I'm like, wait, we're here too.
Yeah.
With the, and then even in conferences when someone talks about HIA, I'm like, yes, like, there's more awareness. There's like, they're bringing this to other people, to other professions, to other doctors, and I'm like, yes, like, they're listening to us. They're opening up space for us also. So that was my little push.
Wonderful. Can you talk a little bit more about what you've just experienced through your different ports of advocacy, whether it's within the NICU specifically or other areas where you've been advocating? Has there been anything that has been just very meaningful to you, help you process your own NICU journey? Have there been challenges or surprises that you've encountered?
I think a good example of it is when I do the foundation tours. The people who come through, they see both our women and babies hospital and they see our children's hospital at the same time. So it's groups who are not admitted families. They're just anyone coming in wanting to see. And so they're learning about the two hospitals. And when I come in, they're always incredibly surprised that I'm there. I always introduce myself and say, hi, I'm Bridget. I'm a NICU mom. Can you tell me what you know about the NICU? And it's always premature babies. And then I say, yeah, not so much so. And then I show pictures of him and they're the gasp that I get. And I know it's kind of not the greatest, but I know if I've done my job well is if I can get someone a little misty eyed. And that has translated into creating quite a big push in our area. We're building a brand new building in our hospital that's going to be amazing for families like us because they've put all the subspecialties together. And so it's like a one-stop shop because I remember when we got discharged, we were running around all over town trying to get those neurology visits, the physical therapy, the speech therapy. And it was just crazy because, he's a few days old or he's a few weeks old and didn't feel like I had any recovery time because I had to be up and moving. And I remember being exhausted. And so the hope is that, again, that there's not going to be a mom like me going forward in the future. Maybe there are, but my hope is that I'll be there to hold their hand or at least be someone to talk to. But it's like I said, it's an interesting experience because if someone talks about it, I'm just over there just cheering. Like if there's a nurse or a respiratory therapist that talks about it. In fact, I was able to connect with our respiratory therapist not that long ago. And she says, just as a matter of course, now she's changed how she practices because of our son, that when she goes in when she's called for delivery, they automatically start having the isolate cooled because it doesn't hurt to have it cooler, because it can make or break a baby in those few seconds, that it can help them survive longer, increase their chances of survival, instead of having it warm. They can always make it warmer, but having it cooler to start with. And so I was like, okay, we are making a little bit of a difference, even if it's just with one person and one medical professional and treater. Like, I was so proud to see that, and see that we've done something. I mean, it wasn't because of the greatest reason, but it was something. And hopefully, again, other families are benefiting from it.
Yeah, and like with my daughter, she was born in a level 3 hospital, so she was
Mhm.
transferred.
Yeah.
You know, everything is like, it was so fast within the first hour
Yeah.
she was in the hospital. And again, learning what is cooling, what is this? They just printed
Yeah.
out paper. I'm like, I don't understand anything of this.
Yeah.
And again, with me, it was isolated. It was during COVID, so we couldn't have visitors in their room either. And then being in the delivery room, listening to all the baby cries, and I'm by myself in my room, and
Yeah.
the nurses walk in, and they're like, "Are you okay?" I'm like,
Yeah.
I don't know. But with me in the hospital that she was transferred to, they recently last year they opened the Family Advisory Council. So
Mhm.
it's new. It's baby, and it's general. It's for everyone in the hospital. So for every department. So there's not a NICU
Mhm.
only a family advisory council yet. So that's my goal in the next few years, to have that only for specific for NICU babies, because
Yeah.
they talk about everything, and I can't relate.
Yeah.
um and I'm like, okay, like my area, I'm like, I want to focus on this part in the NICU, like
Mhm.
because I'm like, it's for parents with prematures, but parents like us also.
Yeah.
So our goal with CPQCC is to have a family advisory for the NICUs in the hospitals.
Yeah.
So I'm like, that would be great. Like if in California, like we have that, because it is hard.
Yeah.
And to like, again, joining, who do I talk to? I see flyers, but there's no person to actually discuss this with.
Yeah.
So that's one goal that I do have for the next few years. But yeah, to get them more involved, because I'm like, it's a learning experience that you don't want no one to go through, but
Mhm.
you go through that stuff.
Yeah. Yeah. We're lucky in that we're in Florida, and our hospital just happened to be a little bit ahead of that. They actually had this NICU specific one. And I was happy that they were open and welcoming, that they wanted all walks of families to come into this, because they wanted to fill a need, of knowing that it's not just a one and done experience, that everyone experiences the NICU the same way, which it is not at all. And like, that's always the funny thing of when, you meet up with somebody or friends, or, you go to take them to their class or meet the other moms, and they're like starting to talk about how they had their babies and birth stories. And you kind of go, oh, should I talk about that? Because yours is going to be the winner, because it's the worst. um, so, it's nice to have a group of people who you can talk to, who understand what cooling is, who understand, like, oh, what the cooling suit looks like. Because when I show pictures of them in it, um, they're very confused the entire time. They're very confused of trying to, like, trying to describe what petit mal seizures are and how to administer medication to a baby. It's not the greatest experience. um and that our experience with it has always been kind of waiting for the other shoe to drop for him, because brain injuries, you don't know what the outcome is going to be. You're always waiting for something to go wrong, or something worse to happen. um for us, we've been lucky that it wasn't anything more worse, but he does have delays. He does have, for us, speech is pretty significant. And then he was diagnosed with autism, which was something that we kind of had a feeling was going to be coming, due to the way his brain was injured. So it's, we have that extra layer of it. And now that he's in grade school, we're having to kind of restart and explain the whole history and story again. But now it's to educators, not medical professionals. So I'm having to create like, a cheat sheet of what is HIE and, what to look out for, and that, his brain is different than everyone else's. He doesn't use it in a typical second grader way. So it's an experience that is always changing. It's always growing. It's never linear. And it's constantly having to be prepared for the uh, uh, out of the box, but also maintaining that, that first year, that out of the box was what felt like drove me to depression. Now I've got some years under my belt and sought out help for it. That was a big thing, was like Anna saying, was getting help for myself and getting someone else to talk to who wasn't involved in this. Talking to my own therapist was a great sounding board, because they had no vested interest. But they knew what HIE was, but they weren't going, oh, poor you. That was just like, okay, that was your experience. Now what can we do with it? That was really, really helpful. So it's a ever-changing HIE,
It
but I'm
is.
hopeful.
Yeah, my daughter, she's diagnosed with severe brain damage. So when
Yeah.
you hear that, you're like, what can I expect? When we
Yeah.
had the first meeting in the hospital with the social worker, the neurologist, the doctors, there was like a big group, and I'm asking questions, and
Mhm.
all the same answers. We don't know. We don't know.
Yeah.
We don't know what the future will bring.
Yeah.
And I'm like, okay, like, just simple. I start asking simple things like, is she gonna be able to walk? We're like, we don't know. Okay, like,
Yeah.
okay, is she gonna be able to smile? We don't know.
No.
And she didn't cry until the third week, and I
Yeah.
cried of because I'm like, oh, she's making a sound.
Yeah.
And now she cries, so I'm like, it's okay, I'm like, you never, when they say severe brain damage, you don't know what the outcome is going to
Yeah.
be. Expect it's going to be like, worse, because you read online. That's the worst
Mhm.
part. And
Yeah.
you see the percentage, and I'm like, oh my gosh, like, I can't. Like, you start thinking the negative stuff. And yeah, now, she's 4 years old, she's in TK, and now it's like also talking to her teachers about her diagnosis. She's
Mhm.
also diagnosed with autism. And at first, I'm like, no, she's not. I'm in denial. But I'm like, you know what? We're getting all the services she needs right now. We're still
Yeah.
continuing with speech, OT, everything she needs. We'll take it, because I'm like, it's
Yeah.
not only it's for her right now in the
Mhm.
future, but also for us.
Yeah.
And like at school, I did print out about me section page of Gianna, her diagnosis, what it is, what effects she might have, just to give them an idea. Because I'm like, every child is different.
Mhm.
You have a classroom full of little kids running, playing, nonverbal, verbal, but her
Mhm.
case, it's different. I
Yeah.
was, different, and just be cautious with this and that. But yeah, it's also teaching now the teachers, telling them our story. And I'm
Mhm.
like, she's like this because this happened,
Yeah.
you know, and that brings more awareness of what HIE is.
Mhm.
I love that you guys are always taking any and all moments to bring about awareness and advocacy, because I can only imagine that, being told we don't know, and just losing
Yeah.
all that control, getting involved with advocacy. I'm assuming it brings back a sense of control and
Mhm.
being able to give control back to parents.
Yeah.
Do you have any suggestions on how other families could get involved in NICU advocacy? What would be their first steps, whether it's for their own healing or for you guys giving back and making sure others don't feel alone? What encouragement would you give them?
I would say the absolute first steps to do is don't repeat the mistakes that we have made. um, that is for the new parents who might still be in the NICU right now, is to talk to your social worker, because they probably can connect you with Hope for HIE, or you might have a parent group like one that we're on in the NICU that can connect you with other parents, and hopefully they can connect you with a similar family. If not, then like for me, they connect you with with a mom who's just at least done it, who's stood in maybe not your exact shoes, but maybe next to them, that has been the mom who had to leave their child at the hospital and walk away, who's had to sit outside and pump, which is a terrible, terrible feeling. It's very lonely, but just having someone who could stand next to you and hold your hand and talk about those things. You may not think that you're part of it, but you are. Join in the things that you see in the NICU. If they have a calendar of events like a coffee meetup, or if you have to do the car seat class, do it. Make your presence known. You belong there. Don't let anyone tell you or make yourself feel like you don't belong. After that, discharge is give yourself some grace too, because re-entering the world post NICU is difficult. You go from a world that is highly scheduled and regulated, and every single milligram is accounted for. Every gram is every little breath of air. So to go out into the world, it can be very jolting and scary. So give yourself a little bit of grace. Enjoy, if you can, any moment with just you having your baby. I always make sure to tell my parents. I always ask the baby's name. I always ask to see a picture, because nothing's going to startle me as to how their baby looks, because it's their baby. It's going to be, beautiful, no matter if it's connected to a cooling suit or a million wires or whatever. Make sure you do that. And I always make sure to tell them congratulations, because you don't hear that a lot in the NICU, is congratulations, you had a baby. Because it doesn't feel like a place that should have congratulations in it. It can feel very, a little bit of despair in it. There's not a lot of joy when there's in the NICU. So, take the moments to have some joy. Make sure that when you do leave, you are advocating for yourself to walk out of the hospital carrying your baby, or be wheeled out. However you want to do it, do it. Make your presence be known. And then after that, when you gotten some time, sometimes Dr. Google is helpful, because you can find organizations like Hope for HIE, but take it with a grain of salt. Try and take just a little bit at a time. This organization is amazing, and Hope for HIE is great, because the information that they give is easy to understand, because it can be a very difficult to understand diagnosis. So they break it down really, really well. I love when they post up the slides, and then I can repost it, because it's very simple language. Start there. Start with maybe look if you have a local NICU Facebook group. Just something simple. Keep it local, but don't let yourself get overwhelmed with it. Or if you do get overwhelmed with it, take a break, and it's okay. It happens. No one's perfect. I've done it many times. But then look that you have this wonderful child who is right in front of you, and they're yours no matter what.
Yeah. With my case again, we were during the pandemic, so there was no
Yeah.
socialization with other parents. But if now, if they have like the NICUs, if they have the coffee in the mornings, join them.
Mhm.
Talk to other parents. Again, you're not gonna feel alone if that happens. And then if you decide to get involved in family advisory councils, take your time. Don't
Mhm.
rush it.
Yeah.
Because even like our family advisory council, they do not take parents if they're below 1 year after
Yeah.
discharge,
Same.
because it's too early.
Yeah.
So they take it, I think the earliest is like a year and a half. And when
Mhm.
you're like mentally ready, like to discuss this, because you might be excited and then go back like, I can't do that, it's too much.
Yeah.
So slowly. And something that I don't know if it's because Hispanic, it's so hard to ask for help.
Mhm.
Ask for help.
Yeah.
Um, we were discharged on a Sunday with the G2 baby, and I forgot how to, put the G2 again, the feeding, and I had to call the 1-800 number. And I'm
Mhm.
like, it's my first time. And they were
Yeah.
so gracious. They're like, it's okay.
Yeah.
Oh my, talking to someone about little things like that. Cause I'm like, okay, this is going to be our daily life now. So I have to be
Yeah.
ready for stuff like this. Yeah, like talk to your social worker.
Mhm.
People like the doctor, the nurses would tell me like, talk to her, and I'm like, what do I ask? I don't know what to
Mhm.
ask for, but do
Yeah.
it. Just any advice, little big, doesn't matter, just talk to someone to help you.
Mhm.
Because it's not easy doing it all alone.
Yeah.
It's not.
Some of the best advice that we were given was the metaphor of put your oxygen mask on first. That you have to put yours on first before you can put on one for anyone else, because you need to take care of yourself, and taking care of yourself doesn't necessarily mean something big. For me, while we were in it, brushing my hair was like climbing Mount Everest, because I just didn't take care of myself. And so, if it's something that you need to go take a shower, it's okay. You're breathing. You're not gonna Things will be okay for those moments for you to do that. And that is also advocacy too. It doesn't have to be big and grand. It doesn't have to be starting a group at your hospital. It doesn't have to be joining the NICU group or anything like that. It can be literally just making sure that you eat lunch every day. That is advocating for yourself in this land that is very unknown. And like I said, you just don't know. You don't know what the outcome is. And so it can get really hard, and you can start spinning your wheels of thinking of the I don't know, I don't know, I don't know, I don't know. And sometimes it's best to just start with the things that you do know. And so those are things like, I do know how to brush my hair. I do know how to change a diaper. Those little things, and just keep doing them, and eventually they'll start to add up. And then you just become an expert at that one thing. And then you can teach someone else to become an expert at brushing their hair. I work with that with our moms a lot. We talk about like those just simple things. And it'll snowball. It will grow. And if you want to become an advocate, that's amazing. If it's not, you think for you, that's amazing too. It's how you want to do it. And for me, it helped me because, like you said, it brought back some control when I didn't feel like I had any control and felt pretty helpless. And that's all I want, is for another mom to just not feel that way, to feel like they have some ownership is the right word. Not necessarily even control, just ownership, that they own one thing, and then they own two things, and then three, and then four, and then five. And, that's where they're at. So hopefully there's more of us.
Yeah, and if you're debating like should I join or how do I
Mhm.
join, take it easy. There's
Mhm.
webinars online. One of
Mhm.
them, Government Center Care Task, they have webinars, and then you'll
Yeah.
see they talk about NICU babies, premature babies.
Mhm.
So you could be
Yeah.
there like, okay, I'm gonna join, and slowly, little by little,
Mhm.
if you're taking steps by steps,
Yeah.
that would be helpful.
I love that. I love it, taking it back to the beginning and just taking care of your own self and making
Mhm.
sure that you are whole so that you can take care of your own child and eventually maybe give back if that's what you want. But just taking those little steps, I think it's important to remember we don't have to jump in with both feet. We can dip our toe in once in a while and
Yeah.
try different things. And if it's not for us, I love that. Thank you guys so much.
Mhm.
As we close up here, you guys have given us such a lot of information to think of. You guys are amazing in what you are doing in your areas and for HIE families and even premature families, but families in the NICUs. I guess as we close, do you have any hopes how NICU advocacy might grow, or what you see in the future, or what you hope to see in the future? Do you have any
Uh,
thoughts?
yeah, more full term inclusion of it. That I'm hopeful in that. I love that it's now September is NICU Awareness Month. It's not just prematurity NICU. Um, it's any baby, no matter what gestational week they're at. And so I'm hopeful in seeing more organizations in that are including more talk to that, more of a broader audience to it. And there are many ones that are now becoming more specific to moms. Like Dear Nikki Mom is a great follow. They were very comforting to me to talk to or just read and listen to. So that's my hope going forward. And my hope is that maybe the next mom will be a little bit braver than the mom before her or after her. And but know that there are people for you. There's people like myself, there's people like Anna, there's just anybody. And the more you talk about it when you're ready, the more it's helpful, the more you'll connect to other families. The more you start sharing your story when you're ready, or if you want to, you're going to find someone else who's going to be like, oh, that was us. Let's chat. Let's talk. And also by showing how our children are doing now is also really helpful too, in that they're wonderful, amazing kids. No matter where they're at in life, meet them where they are. And showing that there is another side to this, that it's not just those first few moments of, I don't know. Because now you have a 4-year-old, I have a soon to be 8-year-old, and they're spicy still. I tell my families, babies in the NICU are forever going to be spicy. And it's true. He's always keeping me on my toes, but he also makes me laugh. And, it's that in those first few days, I couldn't imagine that we were here where we are now. So I'm hopeful that showing families of where we are now, that they might not get to exactly where we're at, but they can see that someone did.
Yeah, and with us, like, this week is gonna be 4 years ago that Jana was discharged from the hospital. So it brings back memory, being in NICU, being in September, NICU Awareness Month, and seeing now, okay, like, you see they involved everyone little by little, like full term babies also. And I'm happy because I'm like, okay, this doesn't mean that it's only for premature babies, it's us also. And I see her, I look at her pictures, I see her now. I'm like, I can't believe, like, little feisty little girl, like, she's so, she's a lot. She's so, a lot. And I'm so happy because I'm like, I never imagined seeing us 4 years later.
Yeah.
Again, ask questions and their answers, I don't know, we don't know. And now I see her and I'm like,
yeah.
And every outcome is different.
Yeah.
We're not the same.
Yeah.
But they're so special. They're loving, they're caring, and I'm like, I always say she went through a hard beginning of life.
Yeah.
And I'm like, and now I see her and I'm like cuddling with her and she's biting me. I'm like, it's okay. But yeah, they're wonderful kids.
I always say that we survived the hardest day of our life, which can be hard for a lot of NICU families. There's a lot of conflicted feelings when it comes to birthdays, because you want to celebrate a birthday, but at the same time, it was probably one of the worst days of your life. But we survived it, and that kind of makes me think we can survive pretty much anything at this point. I'm not fazed by any hardship that comes our way, because nothing can be worse than what that moment was in our life. So,
in a blink of an eye.
Yes.
Yes.
Well, thank you guys so much for all of your information and your willingness to share. We are always looking for families that are willing to share their stories, because it is so helpful for other families to find connection and make sure they aren't feeling alone in whatever way that is, if they're connecting through Hope for HIE and just kind of poking on some of these videos that we have. We really appreciate when people like yourselves put themselves out there and share what they can share, but the advocacy that you're doing and supporting other families is truly amazing. So thank you so much.
Thank you for having us.
Thank you for having us.
Yeah.